We spent the last 10 years basically trying to explain the benefits of cloud computing in an industry that is extremely highly regulated and quite often close to cloud computing or, slowly exploring the possibilities. And in fact, all the security concerns are way more addressed in cloud computing than they are in a physical data center. I see AI not just with its own functionalities and capabilities. I see AI as an amazing enabler to accelerate this transition to cloud computing for banking, because they realize that they all need to embrace AI functionalities and capabilities, and yet you need to move to cloud to be able to leverage that capability.
Absolutely, and aside from the points that you brought up, you all brought up very good points. Coming from a security background, fraud prevention is of course a key aspect that I would definitely recommend. One of the other things which is a surprising use case, and this is not just to financial services but to the industry, the tech industry at large, is also being able to use these AI models in the security operations of the company. We could basically go into stuff like generative adversarial networks, where there's a pair of AI models, one of which develops an attack and the other one detects it. And this is actually a very powerful tool that could be potentially in use. And as you know, security in financial industry is probably one of the top priorities across the board. Every single customer we speak to, security is top of the mind. So this could be a very, very important efficiency, because today, when a SOC analyst looks at logs and tries to figure out if there's a potential attack, there's a certain amount of time that takes them to triage it, analyze the issue, identify what the remediation is. This particular aspect could be significantly lowered through the use of AI.
I see you struck on a good point there, which is sort of like around the legal frameworks and the boundaries. I'm sure we're all guilty of clicking the accept without reading terms and conditions. I think generative AI will actually give the possibility of being able to deliver the relevant and salient points from terms and conditions to a customer, even if the legal framework for the terms and conditions is not necessarily very clear for the customer to understand, just by picking out the comprehensive points that they need to really acknowledge.
That's actually a really good point. I mean, we certainly won't be the favorite person of the legal team if we are to do that, but certainly, there's definitely opportunities there.
The data models that you built and the data that you actually utilize to come up with that, generative AI functionality and capability is very much dependent on the type of data that you process. So therefore, those biases actually, we need to look at, trans-border biases. Something that is relevant and doable in Europe may not necessarily culturally possible or doable in another part of the world. So I think those regulations are important, but we should have, the United Nations-driven AI initiative and bring countries together to actually, put data together or put the regulatory boundaries together, because it's not going to be just a European thing or a US thing. It's going to be a global thing.
When we're talking about what needs to be changed from a business and a consumer standpoint, I'll take the business aspect of it, right? The first things first, businesses do need to understand that there's a certain amount of investment in terms of time and effort that is actually required, especially if you're building a large language model. A lot of the times when we talk to business leaders and who are really interested in AI, they seem to think that we just build a model, give it some training data, go through the reinforced learning, go through various types of learning, and lo and behold, you'll already get the result, which is absolutely not true, because you have to understand that AI is sort of like an untrained intern, just a very smart untrained intern. So you need to put in some efforts into actually training that model with real world data, with real world scenarios. And this is sort of a mindset that businesses need to adopt, in that it's not a cure-all. It's not a magic pill that'll solve your problem. It is definitely a very powerful tool if you know how to use it, but you do need to put in the effort.
And I agree with that is governance, right? You
Yes.
need to look at, it's not just about implementing AI and getting value out of that. It's, the proper governance needs to be in place first so that you can really have the guardrails on. Again, we keep doing on a theme of responsible AI, right? To making sure that we're using it for the best possibilities as well.
And you're absolutely right. So to see wider consumer adoption, you need all of those aspects. You need to be able to demonstrate value and benefit. You need to be able to demonstrate privacy and security, and ultimately gain trust. And it's once you've gained trust, that's when you will actually get that repeat use, and it'll start becoming prevalent amongst people's lives. And that's when we'll see AI progress. But it is interesting to hear that, obviously we know the point I made in the opening is around you have to have that full software development lifecycle in place to be able to build a practical tool that has a use and a purpose and is correct and robust. And it's very easy for some people to mistake what can be done very easily with AI, which is to spin up a very simple test or demonstration that actually looks real world as if it works. Whereas once you start pushing it more to its limits, you realize very quickly that actually it does have limitations.
I love your analogy to this super smart intern, and you would never want to give the helms of your company to an intern to begin with.
I do think, going back to the consumer side, that businesses need to be not, so slow to adopt. There is a balance between that business and consumer aspects, especially in that younger generation that's just consuming as if this is just part of their natural lives, and this hesitancy more in a financial institution of, of moving the paradigm too quickly.
And that's quite a scary point, actually, is that if you consider younger generations, they were far more willing to adopt and give up their data without any care to privacy.
Yes.
And they're now more willing to adopt AI without any care to fallibility.
Right.
They just assume that what they get given is the right answer. And as you know, there are prime cases in legal aspects where lawyers have been found to have
they weren't so young.
They weren't so young, but
using that technology
but they still had cases where it invented
a completely
false case, and it used that as the prime.
Exactly.
So there are risks.
Yes, for sure.
It's a careful balance between data security and data openness, I would say, because if you don't have both, I don't think we can really advance on the right path in the industry.
Absolutely. There's a certain amount of leap of faith that you have to take with any new technology, but just don't try to cross the Grand Canyon. That's what we say.
The access to information and products and insight and almost immediate servicing when everything has been implemented correctly it's a game changer, and I genuinely believe that. And that isn't just for the end consumer, but this is to the employee of the bank as well. We did talk about, AI, the myth, it's going to put people out of jobs in the same way as email and the paper-free office was going to, put people out of jobs. And actually what we saw was an explosion of alternate jobs and additional things that people were able to do, or avenues of business that the companies were able to explore. And I don't see that AI is going to be any different to that.
I mean, a year ago, would you thought the job would exist for or 18 months, a prompt specialist? So to your point of enhancing or augmenting or changing the paradigm of jobs, I mean, just new jobs will appear.
There will be new jobs, definitely.
Is it a good thing? Now, the problem I see in the industry is the hype around the AI word. Everybody's in the conferences talking about AI. Every bank is implementing AI functionality, or at least they are saying they're working on it, etc. Because it's what we want to hear, what we want to talk about. And there's danger in it, I think. We should really trust trustworthy and well-established companies that built those models, those capabilities and functionalities, and explore whether we are really actually defending the customer, the end customer, and providing a better experience to that particular customer. Risk management is part of it. Compliance management is part of it. Chatbot is part of it. I gave you a case where the customer was actually the victim of AI. So I don't think we should rush things in terms of, yes, I'm in. I'm also doing a lot of AI things. No. Are you doing the proper AI things in the proper areas where you actually need to, grow, improve, and enhance your customer experience and employee experience?
It's interesting you say about hype, actually, because hype is key, and you're absolutely right. There is a danger to it. The number of times you meet someone who says, I've been sent here by my board. I've been told to get some AI. Can you talk to me about AI?
Let's give them 1 kilo.
Like a grocery store. Just go get the AI and bring it home.
How much kilos?
Which is back to the first myth, that AI is a silver bullet, and you can use a large language model and apply it to any problem, and it will give you a solution.
Yeah, I think though we don't want to get caught in the paradigm like we did with the internet, right? Where we looked and said, all these verticals were going on to the internet and selling products and things, and the financial institutions were holding back, and then people started saying, well, if I can buy clothes, if I can do this on the internet, why can't I interact with my financial institution, right?
That's fair.
So a very metered but yet measured approach. Again, keep the theme of responsible AI, right?
Yep.
So looking where the customer wants to go and then meeting them in their needs in a responsible way. To your point too, to enhance that customer experience, to grow and develop it. I mean, I actually look forward to a world where I have a human-like experience with my bank in real time, and I can get real-time rates and not somebody put an actuarial model and it's stuck there and it's been there for, the model they've been using for the last 6 months or whatever, that they can real-time look at data and real-time look at information to give me real-time best customer experience, to your point of even next best action, right? And Veripark's heading in their next best action as well. But really, letting the customer lead us and making sure that we have that approach that's responsible AI, but yet that customer experience is leading the way for us.